I'm in the greatest space, so I start to know my part and show. The mistakes make our brains spark and grow. Don't be afraid of the struggle. We were made for the struggle. When our brains get a challenge, it was made for the struggle. We praise and our multitudes persevere. We have faith and reverse the fear. Students just know we create the way. Have a growth mind that we make mistakes. But it's okay, we embrace mistakes. Cause if not school, we'll waste of space. So just keep pushing, never cower when you're breaking power in mistakes. Does not matter how hard you fall, only how hard you try. Grace is given when we pray.
All right, all right, all right. The power of mistakes. That's what that song is talking about. The power that are in our mistakes. Okay? So, when we make a mistake, just like we said this morning, it's okay to make a mistake. But we can't stop at the mistake. We have to try to correct it. And that was a good job by LaKayla this morning. And I just want to tell you that too, LaKayla. You did an excellent job this morning with working with those fractions. Is because you didn't quit because you made a mistake. You didn't get frustrated. You didn't get mad like you normally do. You know, you just went on to correct the mistake. And that's the power of mistakes, is that if you correct them, you learn, okay, and you increase the number of brain cells that you have, and you increase the connections between those cells, and thereby you get smarter. Okay? So, today we're going to do that second part, and we're just going to look at again, I'm talking to parents on this particular one. I'm talking to parents. All right? And these are things that you can do to help your parents, because you know, sometimes, you know, the parenting style can either help you or it can hurt you in your endeavors to be successful. We talked about last week, we talked about assertive communication, right? And we talked about aggressive communication. Anybody remember that? Assertive and aggressive communication?
Yeah.
What was aggressive communication? Hold on.
Communication means like, I don't know.
Okay.
It means bad.
Right, like when your parents say you're stupid, you're just like, you're going to be just like your lazy dad. You know, stuff like that is called aggressive communication. You remember we talked about that? We went through all of those things, and I said, who has ever heard of this, right? And you guys, a lot of you guys raise your hands. You raise your hands a lot, you know. But that's called aggressive communication. And assertive communication is where you know, you are allowed in the conversation. It's like when somebody say, when you tell your parents, I don't like when you yell at me. It makes me nervous. It makes me afraid. Okay, that's assertive because it gives the individual a chance to express the way they feel. Okay, so we talked about that last week, and today we're just going to talk just a little bit, about the different parenting styles. And again, this is Glendora Devine, okay, licensed practical counselor. You know, one of the ladies that is a member of the Arthur Club that I'm a part of. And she just has an awesome book called Leaving Legacies, Breaking the Disconnect Between Parents and Millennials. And she does a good job. She does a good job of in her parenting sessions with their kids and helping them to break that disconnect. Now, we're going to talk about the different type of parenting style. One is called authoritarian parenting. Another one is called authoritative parenting. You have permissive parenting, and you have the uninvolved parent. Okay, and we're just going to touch on each one of these just a little bit. Now, the authoritarian parent, these are some of the things that they do. Okay, these are some of the things that we recognize. Parents that are authoritarian. Parents do not leave options open for discussion. It's either my way or no way. Children are expected to follow orders without questioning or talking back unless they want swift repercussions. Okay, that's the authoritarian parent, where it's you do it because I said do it. Okay, that's the authoritarian parent. Now, this style of parenting can cause children to rebel and display mischievous behaviors as they continue to develop. Okay? That's what I've learned. You know, when Gloria gave me this book, Glendora, when she gave me this book and I started reading, I was like, man, this is what I'm talking about right here. But we was on the same page. You know, the only thing different she did is she put names to the stuff that I was saying. You know, so there are specific names that you would say. I didn't call it authoritarian parenting. You know, I don't even know what I call it. I just say parents that do this. You know, but she have a name for it. It's authoritarian parents. You know, that say you do it because I say do it, and it does not leave the don't leave the child a chance to say anything back. All right, and we don't want our kids to go through life like that, because when some authority figures are not necessarily have good intentions in mind, you know. So like back in the civil rights movement and stuff like that, you want your kids to be able to speak up for themselves. You want them to do it in a respectful way, but you want them to be able to speak up for themselves. Even when they're on their jobs, whatever they are, you want them to be able to voice how they feel. You don't want to close that up. And when you come from a parent that is authoritarian, guess what? Most of the time, that is closed up for you. Okay, so a lot of those kids are, they don't really say a whole lot. You know, they're quiet. They don't speak. You know, they get to themselves a lot. And that's because they're not used to being able to say anything back. Okay, so that's the authoritarian parent. Okay, and we also have the authoritative parent. Now, this parent establishes rules and guidelines that their children are expected to follow. However, it is much more democratic than authoritarian parenting. Okay? It's more democratic because you set the rules. Just like we do in this classroom, I set the standards and I say, this is how we're going to do things. Okay? We have class rules, you know, that we follow. We have a certain way that we walk in the hallway. You know, these kind of parents, authoritative parents, these are the kind of things that they do. They set rules and they have expectations. And so whenever their children are not acting in those rules and in those expectations, they have a talk with them and they let them know, this is not how we do it. Okay? This is not how successful people do it. All right? And you have to get them every time you do it. And so, authoritative parents, they set rules. And these kind of parents usually have kids that know how to stand up for themselves. Okay? They're able to defend themselves in a great, respectable way. And that's really what you want. Okay? So, now we're going to get into more detail on it, but not today. I just want to give you a little bit about each one of these parenting styles. Then you have the permissive parent. Okay, the permissive parent just let their kids do whatever. You know, you might see some of them in the store. You know, when you're going through Walmart and the kid is just telling their parent, you know, whatever he wants to tell them, yelling, screaming, doing whatever, throwing stuff down, kicking, you know, those are parents that are permissive. You know, they allow their kids to do anything because in their mind they say, well, they're going to learn. You know, but in reality, they're not going to learn until we do what? Teach them. So we have to teach them how to do things. So we have the permissive parent. And lastly, we have the uninvolved parent. You know, and everybody, that's self-explanatory. The uninvolved parent is not there. Okay, a lot of men, a lot of our young boys are missing their fathers in the home, and it's affecting them in a big way because young men want to have their fathers in their lives. Okay, they do. And so uninvolved parenting, and you don't even have to be a parent that's not there. Some parents that are there are uninvolved because they don't have anything to do with their kids. They have football games, basketball games, cheerleading practice. All of those things, they don't go. And or they don't allow their kids to participate in things like that. Okay, so you don't necessarily have to be an uninvolved parent, you know, and not being there at all. You can be there and still be uninvolved with your kid's life. If you don't talk to them when they're hurting and they want to talk, uninvolved. Okay? So these are the different types of parenting styles that we're going to talk further on. We'll go into a little bit more detail with this different types of parenting styles on I think Wednesday. We'll go into a little bit of detail because I'm going to have to hit, you know, like one or two of them on Wednesday, and then the other two we'll do on Friday. Okay? So I just wanted to introduce you guys to those parenting styles, and the parents that are listening to the videos, you know, I want you to stay tuned for Wednesday when we start going into detail about these parenting styles. And this is not, you know, something where I'm trying to get you angry or anything like this. This is just me trying to help us get better, because we got to get better. We know that. Okay, everybody understands that we have to do a better job with our kids. The millennial generation is much different than any generation that we have ever had before, and we have to know how to get them to do the things that we want them to do, because you can't get them to do the things that you want them to do the same way that my generation, you know, were taught things by our parents. Can't do it the same way. You know, in my generation, that's when that mindset, when parents would say, you do it because I say do it. It started to change then, because a lot of times I wanted to say something. You know, the generation before us, the baby boomers, you know, they didn't say nothing back. But starting with my generation, we really wanted to say something. You know, we just didn't want to get backslapped. You know, and we thought about it. We wanted to. It was close. And there was a time or two when we actually said something and we had to pick ourselves up from the floor. You know. But let me tell you something. The millennials don't care. They don't fear that. You know, they're going to say it anyway. So why not teach them how to do it in a way that's going to be productive and that's going to help them to be great students. Not only great students, but great individuals, because that's what we're creating. We want people to be great students, and we want them to be great individuals. All right, cameraman, turn us off.